If you ever want to know whether your marriage is dying, watch how fast your wife answers when she thinks you're asleep. My phone buzzed at 11:48 p.m. while I sat at the kitchen island reviewing a vendor fraud report from work. Olivia's name lit the screen beside a selfie she took last Christmas, smiling under hotel lobby lights in Manhattan, one hand gripping a champagne glass like she owned the room. I opened the message. Miss you. Conference got extended 2 more days. Wish you were here. 3 red heart emojis followed. Simple. Warm. Polished. Too polished. I stared at the screen for a few seconds longer than a husband should have to. Then another notification slid across the top of the family iPad sitting beside my laptop. AirDrop request accepted. My pulse tightened. Olivia used that iPad once before leaving for Seattle because her work MacBook refused to sync with the hotel printer. Usually the device stayed dead for weeks. Tonight the screen woke on its own. One image flashed open for barely 2 seconds before vanishing into the cloud sync folder. But 2 seconds was enough. Olivia stood beside an infinity pool wearing a white resort robe with wet hair over one shoulder. A man's hand rested against the small of her back. Only part of him appeared in frame. Navy blazer. Rolex. Broad chest. The picture disappeared instantly like someone yanked a curtain closed. I grabbed the iPad and opened the recent sync folder. Empty. Recently deleted. Empty again. My heartbeat slowed instead of rising. Engineers learn early that panic destroys accuracy. Data matters. Timestamps matter more. I checked the sync log buried under device settings. Last upload. Aspen, Colorado. Aspen. Her conference sat in Seattle. 1,200 miles apart. I leaned back slowly and replayed the sequence in my head. The text arrived at 11:48. The AirDrop sync triggered at 11:49, meaning Olivia sent that message while sharing photos somewhere else entirely. Sloppy. Careless. Or distracted by whoever stood behind that camera. I opened our joint Amex account next. Olivia handled most travel bookings through her corporate card, but sometimes overlap charges hit our shared account first before. Reimbursement. 2 new transactions waited in pending activity. Vail Ridge Resort. $487. Alpine Room Service. $96. My jaw locked harder at the second one. Room service after 10 p.m. almost always meant 2 people avoiding a public restaurant. I enlarged the merchant detail. 2 entrees. 1 bottle of Napa Cabernet. Chocolate-covered strawberries. Romantic enough to make a divorce attorney smile. My thumb hovered over Olivia's contact photo. 20 different versions of confrontation crossed my mind in under 5 seconds. Call her. Ask questions. Listen for hesitation. But another thought pushed harder. Smart liars prepare for emotions. They struggle against evidence. So I opened my laptop instead and pulled up the conference website. Northwest Corporate Growth Summit. Seattle Convention Center. Event schedule archived publicly online. Closing keynote ended at 4 p.m. yesterday. Olivia texted me 27 hours after the conference officially closed. I felt something shift inside my chest then. Not heartbreak. Structure. Like steel beams locking into place before concrete pours. My wife thought she controlled the timeline. She thought distance blurred details. She forgot I build systems for a living. Systems leave trails. I clicked back to the Aspen transaction and expanded the authorization record. Another name appeared under the reservation confirmation. Ethan Blake. And the second I read it, I realized this story started months before tonight. Ethan Blake sat on my screen like a fingerprint somebody forgot to wipe clean. I knew the name before I admitted it to myself. 6'2". Senior Acquisitions Executive at Vail Mercer Consulting. Expensive watches. Marathon runner. Corporate smile sharp enough to sell poison as medicine. Olivia mentioned him 3 times over the last year. Always casually, always buried inside harmless office stories. Ethan said this. Ethan approved that. Ethan moved another account to Denver. Small mentions. Background noise. Looking back, every affair starts as background noise. I opened his LinkedIn profile and stared at the polished headshot for nearly a minute. Then I checked. Instagram. Private account. Fitness photos. Luxury hotels. Golf weekends. Conference panels. A man obsessed with appearances usually leaves digital footprints everywhere because attention acts like oxygen to people like him. I searched tagged locations in Aspen from the last 48 hours instead. 10 minutes later, I found the first crack. A junior sales rep from Olivia's company uploaded a group dinner photo at a steakhouse downtown. 7 employees sat around the table smiling at wine glasses and ribeye plates. Olivia sat beside Ethan. Her hand rested on his shoulder under the excuse of leaning into frame. Intimate enough to tighten my stomach. Familiar enough to suggest repetition. I downloaded the image and zoomed into the timestamp reflected inside Ethan's watch face. 8:42 p.m. Same night she claimed exhaustion after back-to-back leadership sessions. I kept digging. A second employee posted stories from the resort bar. Olivia appeared again in the background for less than a second. White sweater. Hair down. Ethan beside her, wearing the same navy blazer from the airdrop photo. 2 people build patterns long before they build excuses. I opened our Verizon family account next. Most people ignore phone records because they expect betrayal to arrive wrapped in lipstick or hotel receipts. Phones expose routines better than emotions ever will. Olivia's line pinged one number repeatedly over the last 4 months. Denver area code. Average call length, 27 minutes. Mostly after midnight. I copied the number into a search database tied to my engineering security software. Ethan Blake. Personal cell. My chest felt strangely calm after that. Anger burns hot. Certainty burns cold. I walked upstairs into Olivia's office and sat in her desk chair for the first time in years. She guarded that room carefully once remote consulting exploded after the pandemic. I used to respect the boundary. Suddenly the boundary looked more like concealment. Her desktop monitor still synced automatically to company cloud storage. Sloppy again. I checked document history under recent files. Expense reports. Flight confirmations. Restaurant invoices. Then I found a PDF labeled Aspen Client Extension. I opened it. Fake. Wrong formatting. Missing corporate tax ID. Somebody created it fast for reimbursement cover. Probably Ethan. Probably after the real conference ended. My eyes moved lower across the page until one line stopped me cold. Additional suite charges approved for executive guest accommodations. Suite. Singular. 1 room. I leaned back slowly and pictured Olivia sending heart emojis while sharing a king suite with another man under my last name on the reservation profile. Then another realization hit harder than the affair itself. Aspen trips cost money. Hidden money. Secret accounts always leave accounting distortions somewhere. I logged into our joint savings dashboard and checked outgoing transfers from the past 6 months. 3 withdrawals hit an investment app under Olivia's personal email. $9,000 total. Enough for hotel upgrades, flights, gifts. A parallel life funded quietly beside mine. I opened the transfer details and froze when I saw the destination account holder name attached to one recurring payment authorization. Ethan Blake Properties, LLC. Most men picture betrayal as one reckless mistake. A drunk kiss. A hidden text. Something impulsive. What sat in front of me looked organized. Structured. Budgeted. Ethan Blake Properties, LLC operated through a private holding company registered in Colorado 18 months earlier. Real estate shell. Tax advantages. Executive housing investments. Clean paperwork. Expensive lawyer. I pulled the public registration records and saw Olivia's personal Gmail attached as an emergency administrative contact on 2 filings. My stomach tightened harder at that than the resort photos. Affairs burn hotter when 2 people start planning logistics together. I opened another browser tab and traced the LLC through county property records. Aspen condo purchased 9 months ago. 3-bedroom luxury unit. Estimated value, $1.8 million. Mortgage backed through a Denver commercial lender. Then I saw Ethan's annual salary estimates through executive compensation reports. Strong income. Strong bonuses. Strong enough to fund secrecy without touching company. Reimbursements too aggressively. Olivia still transferred money into the account anyway. That meant emotional investment. People protect pleasure. They invest in futures. I copied every transaction into an encrypted spreadsheet and built a timeline stretching back 6 months. Transfers increased after each conference trip. Napa in February. Miami in April. Aspen twice since August. My wife built a second relationship using calendar invites and expense reports while eating dinner across from me every night. The realization landed differently than rage. It felt surgical, like somebody removed a piece of my life carefully while I kept smiling for family photos. I checked our retirement accounts next. Olivia recently requested updated beneficiary documents through our financial advisor. At the time, I brushed it off as routine planning. Suddenly, every routine action looked loaded with intent. I called the advisor's office using the after-hours extension reserved for premium clients. Automated system. Secure voicemail. I left a simple message requesting immediate freeze protection on all pending beneficiary modifications until further review. Calm voice. Professional tone. Years of engineering meetings trained me well for emotional triage. Then I opened our shared home security app. Olivia managed most smart home permissions because she loved automation systems. Lights, garage access, remote thermostats, digital locks. I scrolled through connected devices and found one I never recognized before. Aspen MacBook Pro, authorized 6 weeks ago under Family Trusted Devices. My thumb hovered over the screen for a long second. Trusted devices synced passwords automatically. Photos too. I entered the backup dashboard and searched hidden folders tied to Olivia's cloud account. Hundreds of work files appeared first. Contracts, client decks, travel PDFs. Then a folder named Tax Archive opened by mistake because Olivia saved it under Favorites. Inside sat another folder hidden beneath scanned receipts. E.B. Private. My pulse slowed again. Cold. Focused. I opened it carefully. Lease agreements. Flight itineraries. Jewelry invoices. Wine club memberships. Then one video file. 7 seconds long. Olivia stood inside the Aspen condo kitchen laughing while Ethan filmed her pouring whiskey into 2 glasses. Casual, comfortable, familiar enough to stab deeper than any hotel photo ever could. Then Ethan's voice drifted through the recording. 1 more year, and you will never have to fake that marriage again. Olivia laughed softly after that. Soft enough to sound practiced. I replayed the sentence 3 times because part of my brain still wanted translation. 1 more year. Meaning timeline, strategy, planning. My marriage already had an expiration date. I sat there staring at the screen until another detail hit me harder than the affair itself. The video timestamp came from 11 months ago. 11 months. That meant Olivia started building her exit plan while we still hosted neighborhood cookouts and argued over backsplash samples for the kitchen remodel. I replayed the video again and watched her body language carefully this time. Relaxed shoulders. Easy smile. Zero tension. She looked lighter around Ethan than she had around me in years. That realization carved deeper than the affair itself because it exposed timing. Affairs survive on fantasy. Long-term planning survives on intention. I checked our calendar archives next. 11 months ago lined up exactly with the week Olivia pushed hardest for us to refinance the house. At the time, she framed it as smart financial restructuring. Better rates. Better flexibility. Future planning. I trusted her completely. Now I pulled the mortgage documents from our encrypted drive and read every page again with fresh eyes. Olivia requested a variable equity access clause tied to future renovations. That clause gave her legal leverage over liquidity if we sold the property later. Strategic. Quiet. Surgical. My wife spent nearly a year positioning herself financially while texting me grocery lists and anniversary dinner reservations. I opened our email archive and searched key phrases. Refinance. Equity. Beneficiary. Asset distribution. Hundreds of messages appeared. Most looked harmless until I tracked the dates beside Ethan's travel overlaps. Patterns emerged immediately. Every major financial conversation happened within 72 hours of Olivia meeting him during conferences or corporate retreats. Influence leaves fingerprints inside timing. I exported every email into folders labeled by month and mirrored the backups to a private encrypted server outside the home network. Then I contacted my older brother Kevin, former forensic accountant, ruthless with numbers, calm under pressure, the kind of man who reads tax filings the way detectives read crime scenes. He answered on the second ring. I gave him facts only. No emotion. No speeches. Aspen. Hidden account transfers. Shell company. Secret condo. Long pause on the other end. Then Kevin exhaled slowly and said something that froze my blood harder than the affair itself. Daniel, this sounds bigger than cheating. He asked for banking access logs and corporate reimbursement statements immediately. Within an hour, he called back with a tone I had heard only once before after our father died. Tight. Controlled. Focused. Olivia's transfer amounts looked intentionally structured beneath federal reporting thresholds. Small enough to avoid triggering automated scrutiny. consistent enough to indicate planning. Then Kevin spotted another detail buried under merchant metadata. Ethan Blake Properties LLC shared routing activity with a consulting escrow account tied to Vail Mercer's executive relocation division. Corporate money. Corporate overlap. Potential ethics violations. Suddenly, this stopped looking like a private affair and started smelling like embezzlement exposure waiting to explode. My pulse steadied instead of racing. Power shifts quietly when facts enter the room. I spent the next 2 hours building duplicate evidence folders across 3 encrypted drives, while Olivia kept sending affectionate messages from Aspen. Miss your face. Wish you were here. Love you forever. Each text landed differently after that. Less like manipulation, more like maintenance. She needed me emotionally stable while she finished whatever timeline she built with Ethan. Around 3 in the morning, another notification appeared on the shared iPad. Olivia opened a note through Cloud Sync by mistake. One line flashed across. The screen before the folder refreshed. Once Daniel signs the investment authorization forms, we can move everything cleanly after Q4. I stared at that sentence for a full minute. Investment authorization forms. My signature. Then memory hit me like cold steel. Olivia left a stack of paperwork on my office desk 3 weeks earlier and told me to sign it before year-end tax season. I found the documents exactly where Olivia left them, neatly stacked on the corner of my office desk inside a blue leather folder beside our property tax statements. 3 weeks earlier, she kissed my cheek, handed me a pen, and said the paperwork would simplify our investment structure before the new year. At the time, I barely glanced at it. 12 years of marriage trains a man to sign beside his wife without reading every paragraph like a hostile witness. Tonight, I read every word. Line by line. Slowly. The first pages looked harmless enough. Expansion authorizations. Joint portfolio restructuring. Secondary investment trust language. Then page 14 changed everything. Olivia inserted a survivorship clause tied to a future holding trust connected to external real estate partnerships. External partnerships. Ethan's company. If I signed those forms, Olivia could legally redirect portions of our retirement liquidity into blended investment assets protected from immediate marital dispute during separation proceedings. Clean, quiet, ruthless. Kevin stayed on speakerphone while I scanned the rest. His breathing sharpened halfway through. Daniel, he said carefully, this reads like pre-divorce positioning. My chest tightened harder at that phrase than any affair photo. Pre-divorce positioning. She already moved emotionally toward another life, while keeping me financially useful. I opened the metadata history inside the PDF next. Olivia modified the document 6 days earlier from the Aspen Condo Network. Ethan's name appeared again under collaborative edits through Adobe Cloud Sharing. That single detail shifted the entire balance of power. Affairs destroy trust. Financial conspiracy destroys sympathy. Suddenly, I stopped seeing Olivia as confused or impulsive. I saw strategy, coordination, legal choreography happening behind my back for nearly a year. Kevin advised immediate countermeasures. Freeze signatures. Separate liquid cash reserves quietly. Secure retirement access. Pull credit monitoring reports before debt migration starts. I followed every instruction with surgical focus. Midnight turned into 4 in the morning while I opened fresh banking accounts under individual authorization, transferred half my direct deposit allocations, and rerouted sensitive engineering consulting payments away from our joint operating account. Calm hands, steady breathing, controlled movements. The strange part about Betrayal is how quickly emotion transforms into logistics. Around dawn, Olivia called through FaceTime. I answered on the second ring because performance mattered now. She smiled from inside the Aspen condo kitchen wearing one of my old college sweatshirts. My sweatshirt. You look exhausted, she said softly. Long night. I watched Ethan's reflection move briefly across the stainless steel refrigerator behind her before disappearing out of frame. Olivia angled the camera instantly after realizing it. Tiny mistake. Tiny panic. Huge confirmation. Quarterly reports. I answered evenly. You know how it goes. She gave me that familiar sympathetic smile that used to lower my blood pressure after brutal workdays. Now it looked rehearsed. Weaponized. I hate being away this long, she whispered. Once this promotion cycle finishes, life gets easier for us. Us. That word almost made me laugh. Instead, I asked one simple question. How is Aspen? Her face froze for less than a second, barely visible. But engineers spend careers detecting stress fractures invisible to everyone else. Seattle, she corrected quickly. I am exhausted. My brain feels scrambled. Then she smiled again. Too fast this time. Too careful. I nodded slowly like a husband willing to believe anything. The call ended 30 seconds later. 5 minutes after that, Kevin texted me a screenshot from a corporate ethics database he still accessed through one of his audit clients. Vail Mercer Consulting opened an internal compliance review against Ethan Blake 2 months earlier over unauthorized executive reimbursements. Attached beneath the report sat a familiar address. Aspen Condo Unit 3407. Company flagged the property during a hidden expense investigation. The moment corporate compliance entered the picture, the entire affair changed shape in my head. Olivia and Ethan stopped looking like two reckless people chasing excitement. They looked like partners managing risk, coordinating timelines, protecting assets, building exits. Kevin sent over the preliminary audit notes he pulled through his contact inside Vail Mercer. Ethan submitted repeated reimbursement requests tied to executive relocation scouting. Same condo, same travel windows Olivia claimed as leadership retreats. Same weekends she returned home acting emotionally distant for days afterward. The pattern formed a clean line once I stopped viewing my marriage emotionally and started reading it like a systems failure analysis. One compromised component creates pressure. Pressure spreads. Eventually, the entire structure fractures under hidden stress. I spent the rest of that morning preparing quietly. I scheduled consultations with 2 separate divorce attorneys under attorney-client privilege protections. Both advised immediate evidence preservation before confrontation. Both repeated the same phrase within the first 15 minutes. Control liquidity before she realizes you know. Hearing that from professionals hit differently. Affairs create heartbreak. Financial manipulation creates tactical urgency. I pulled 6 months of payroll distributions from my engineering consulting contracts and rerouted future deposits into a newly formed holding account Kevin helped structure under a separate LLC. Legal. Clean. Temporary. Olivia still believed I moved through life like the same predictable husband she spent years underestimating. That advantage mattered now. Around noon, another message arrived from her. Boarding a client lunch. Miss your voice. Call tonight. I stared at the text for several seconds before placing the phone face down. 3 years earlier, that message would have softened every hard edge inside me. Now every word felt engineered to maintain emotional stability while she finalized whatever plan existed behind Aspen. Then my phone buzzed again. Unknown Colorado number. I almost ignored it until voicemail hit instantly. Female voice. Nervous breathing. Daniel, my name is Claire. I think our spouses are together. My chest tightened. Claire. Ethan Blake's wife. I called back within 30 seconds. She answered immediately like somebody standing at the edge of collapse, trying to stay upright through momentum alone. Her voice shook during the first minute, then hardened once facts replaced emotion. She hired a private investigator 2 months earlier after Ethan started disappearing during corporate expansion travel. Aspen photos, resort records, hidden accounts, matching evidence. Same story from another angle. Then Claire dropped the sentence that shifted power completely. Olivia met with a family law attorney in Denver 4 months ago. Silence stretched between us after that. For months, Olivia already planned legal separation logistics while sleeping beside me every night. Claire emailed her evidence package while we stayed on the phone. I opened the folder slowly. Hundreds of pages. Resort timestamps. Flight manifests. Restaurant receipts. Surveillance photos. Ethan and Olivia walking through Aspen wearing baseball caps like suburban disguises could fool forensic accounting. Then I reached the final attachment. PDF document. Prenuptial amendment draft. My name appeared across the top beside Olivia's electronic signature placeholder. My vision narrowed instantly. The amendment altered future equity distribution tied to marital property appreciation and retirement holdings. Olivia needed my signature before filing anything official. That explained the investment paperwork on my desk. She tried blending divorce positioning into routine financial restructuring so I would sign without scrutiny. Smart. Cold. Planned. Claire exhaled slowly over the phone. There is something else, she whispered. My investigator thinks Ethan plans to move money offshore before the end of the quarter. Then she forwarded one final screenshot from Ethan's private messages. Olivia replied to him less than 6 hours earlier. Once Daniel signs everything, we are free. Once I saw the message about freedom, something inside me went completely still. People imagine betrayal as explosive, screaming, shattered glasses, doors slamming. Real betrayal moves quieter than that. It changes the temperature in your body. It rewires trust into calculation. I stopped thinking like a husband that night. I started thinking like an engineer protecting a collapsing structure before the damage spread further. Claire and I spent the next 3 hours building a shared evidence archive through encrypted cloud storage. Separate folders, timestamp verification, financial records, screenshots, travel logs, metadata chains. Her investigator already documented enough material to destroy Ethan professionally if corporate compliance pushed harder. My evidence tied Olivia directly into the financial side. Together, the puzzle looked lethal. Around midnight, my attorney, Richard Halpern, called after reviewing the preliminary files I uploaded earlier that afternoon. Calm voice, Manhattan-trained precision. He asked one question before anything else. Daniel, has your wife realized you know? No. Good, he answered instantly. Then you still control timing. That sentence mattered. Timing creates leverage in divorce cases involving financial concealment. Richard advised immediate strategic restraint. No confrontation. No emotional conversations. No warnings. Let them continue moving naturally while we secured legal positioning first. He drafted emergency asset protections overnight and coordinated with Kevin to isolate vulnerable accounts tied to future retirement distributions. Olivia still believed she operated 3 steps ahead. She had no idea the board already shifted under her feet. By sunrise, I filed preliminary separation paperwork under sealed attorney preparation status. Quiet move. Invisible for now. Richard also submitted preservation notices through private channels targeting Vail Mercer's reimbursement systems before Ethan could purge records tied to Aspen. Every action tightened pressure without alerting either of them. Then another message arrived from Olivia around 8:30 in the morning. Landing. Tomorrow night. I miss home. Home. Strange word coming from somebody planning escape routes through hidden investment clauses. I answered carefully. Drive safe. I made reservations for Saturday. Keep the pattern stable. Keep her relaxed. Richard insisted emotional predictability would become my strongest weapon. People reveal more when they feel safe. I spent most of that afternoon reviewing 12 years of marriage through a completely different lens. Every conference extension, every emotional withdrawal, every sudden interest in asset management. Tiny fractures everywhere. Looking back almost made me angry at myself more than her. I spent years believing loyalty automatically creates safety. Olivia spent those same years studying leverage. Around 4 in the afternoon, Claire called again, sounding sharper this time. Focused, furious beneath the surface. Her investigator tracked Ethan leaving the Aspen condo early that morning carrying banker boxes into a private SUV tied to Vail Mercer Executive Services. Movement. Panic. Somebody inside the company likely warned him. Compliance scrutiny escalated. Richard reacted immediately once I relayed the information. He contacted a forensic litigation specialist and expanded discovery preparations before Ethan could reposition assets offshore. Then Claire said something that changed the entire situation again. Daniel, she whispered carefully. My investigator followed Ethan to a private airfield outside Aspen. Silence stretched between us. He met with Olivia there. My grip tightened around the phone. Why does that matter? Claire inhaled slowly before answering. Because they were carrying passports and international banking folders. Passports changed everything. Affairs survive inside fantasy until money and international banking enter the room. Then fantasy turns into escape planning. Claire forwarded additional surveillance photos within minutes. Ethan carried a black leather document case. Olivia wore oversized sunglasses and a cream trench coat I bought her 2 Christmases earlier. They stood beside a charter terminal entrance, speaking with a private aviation coordinator. Calm body language. Comfortable. Prepared. People planning quick getaways move differently than people hiding hotel weekends. Richard called immediately after reviewing the images. Daniel, we move today. His tone sharpened for the first time since this started. Within 2 hours, his legal team filed emergency financial preservation motions tied to suspected marital asset concealment and coordinated disclosure notices aimed directly at Ethan's ongoing compliance investigation. Quiet pressure from multiple directions. Strategic compression. Every pathway they planned suddenly narrowed. Then Richard advised something else. Let Olivia come home, believing she still controls the narrative. That part mattered most. Exposure works better when deception keeps breathing right until impact. I spent the rest of the afternoon transforming the house into a stage set. Calm kitchen, clean counters, familiar routine. I even picked up Olivia's favorite Pinot Noir and placed it beside the wine rack exactly where she expected it. Predictability lowers defenses faster than confrontation ever will. Around 7 that evening, Olivia texted me from the airport lounge. Delayed another hour. Exhausted. Miss your face. I answered with one line. Driveway lights are on for you. My hand stayed steady while sending it. Strange how betrayal trains emotional discipline faster than years of corporate negotiations. Meanwhile, Richard's team finalized the evidence package. Financial transfers, Aspen records, compliance reports, cloud backups, metadata chains, hidden trust amendments. Claire contributed Ethan's offshore communication logs and travel evidence. Together, the file looked devastating. Clean, chronological, impossible to explain away through emotion. Then Kevin uncovered one final detail buried inside the offshore banking draft Ethan carried to the airfield. Olivia's name appeared under secondary beneficiary restructuring connected to a Cayman holding trust scheduled for activation after anticipated marital dissolution. Anticipated. They already projected the divorce internally before telling me my marriage even had problems. That word burned colder than every photo combined. Around 10:30, my phone buzzed. Again, Olivia landed. 25 minutes from home. I opened the smart home system from my laptop and cued the living room television through hidden media sync mode. One click would launch the evidence presentation directly onto the 65-inch screen facing the front entryway. No speeches needed. Facts speak louder when arranged correctly. Midnight approached slowly after that. Every second stretched thinner. Then headlights rolled into the driveway. Garage door opened. Olivia stepped inside wearing soft gray travel sweats and carrying the leather overnight bag she always used for conferences. Same smile. Same warm eyes. Same performance. She walked toward me immediately and wrapped her arms around my neck like she had rehearsed affection during the flight home. God, I missed you, she whispered against my shoulder. I smelled expensive hotel soap and airport perfume under the words. My pulse stayed perfectly level. Long trip? I asked quietly. Brutal, she sighed. I am ready for normal life again. Normal life. The phrase almost impressed me. Olivia pulled back slightly and studied my face for signs of suspicion. She found none because rage already left my body days earlier. Precision replaced it. She smiled with visible relief and reached for the wine bottle on the counter. You remembered my favorite. Of course, I answered calmly. Then I picked up the remote control resting beside the kitchen island and pressed play. The television screen flickered alive behind her. Aspen resort footage filled the room instantly. Olivia froze before the second frame even loaded. Olivia's face lost color so fast, it looked almost unreal. Aspen footage rolled across the television in sharp silence behind her. Resort balconies, dinner receipts, airport surveillance stills, Ethan's messages, her hidden banking transfers. Every piece appeared in perfect sequence because emotion confuses people but structure corners them. She set the wine bottle down carefully, like sudden movements might crack reality apart around her. Daniel, she whispered, but her voice carried calculation before guilt. I saw it instantly. Her eyes moved toward the television first, then toward my phone on the counter, then toward the hallway leading to her office. Escape routes, damage assessment, strategy. Even now. How long? She asked quietly. Long enough, I answered. I kept my tone level because anger would have given her something to fight against. Calm leaves people exposed. The screen shifted again. The offshore trust draft appeared next beside her messages about waiting for my signatures. Olivia closed her eyes briefly after that. Tiny fracture. First real crack all night. You went through my files, she said. Interesting choice. She skipped apology and reached for procedural defense instead. You planned my divorce before telling me my marriage had problems, I replied evenly. Silence stretched between us. Heavy. Precise. Olivia folded her arms slowly like she wanted emotional armor. It started complicated, she said carefully. Then it got out of control. Another strategic sentence. Soft language. Reduced accountability. I already heard enough legal coaching through Richard to recognize verbal positioning. 11 months is not complicated, I answered. That is project management. Her jaw tightened at that because she knew it was true. I handed her the separation documents resting beside the kitchen island. She stared at them for several seconds before touching the pages. You filed already? Prepared, I corrected. Filed tomorrow morning unless my attorney stopped the process for negotiation. Her eyes snapped upward instantly at the word attorneys. There it was. Fear finally entered the room once leverage shifted fully away from her. Then her phone rang. Ethan. His name lit the screen brightly between us. Olivia stared at it without answering. The television shifted again automatically and displayed Vale Mercer compliance notices tied to Ethan's reimbursement investigation. I watched understanding spread across her face piece by piece. Ethan was collapsing too. Simultaneously. Same night. Same pressure points. Her breathing changed after that. Faster. Less controlled. Claire knows, I said quietly. That sentence hit hardest of all. Olivia sank slowly into one of the kitchen chairs and covered her mouth with trembling fingers. For the first time since this started, she looked less like a strategist and more like somebody realizing the structure she built around herself had already fallen apart. We were going to tell you eventually, she whispered. Eventually. Another fascinating word. People planning betrayal always imagine honesty arriving later, like delayed morality, somehow cleans the damage. I leaned against the counter and studied the woman I spent 12 years loving. Strange thing was, I still recognized pieces of her inside all this. Same eyes, same voice, same habits. But trust changes the shape of memory once it dies. Every good moment starts carrying shadows backward through time. Olivia looked up at me again with tears gathering now. Real tears this time. What happens next? She asked softly. I thought about that question for a long moment before answering. Next, I said calmly. You learn the difference between privacy and secrecy. Her phone started vibrating again beside the divorce papers. Ethan calling for the third time. Olivia stared at the screen without moving while another notification slid across the top. Vale Mercer Emergency Compliance Meeting. Mandatory attendance. Effective immediately. Then my own phone buzzed beside me with a message from Richard. Court approved temporary asset freeze 20 seconds ago.